pumped.
I'm very excited. I was just sending out an email. Cool.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of DudaCon. Really excited to have everyone out there, and really excited to get this content in front of you and kind of share some knowledge. Today, we're going to wait a few minutes before we actually jump into the presentation, but RUAN, Evan, do you guys want to quickly introduce yourselves and tell the audience a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah, sure. My name is RUAN MARINHO. I've been working with Duda specifically for about 4 years now. And so this is our company, Neimark. And we basically do ongoing web services for local service-based businesses, which we're going to talk a lot about today. And I think most of the audience probably does some sort of local SEO or website management for local businesses. So I think this is going to be the most valuable session that they ever get with one of these. So I'm excited to be on here. And Russ, thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you.
Yeah, and I'm Evan. I work at DudaCon with RUAN, and I'm in charge of our lead web designer here. And so I've been making websites in Duda for over 3 years, hundreds of sites made in Duda, as well as other platforms, but really here to share my design and UX knowledge as well as just kind of how we make websites fast at scale. So.
That's awesome. Super excited to get into the content. Just a little bit of background on myself and a little bit about kind of the DudaCon event itself. So just for everyone, my name is Russ Jeffrey. I'm the director of ecosystem and product strategy at Duda. I've been around Duda for quite a while, and so I'm sure I'll see some familiar faces here in the audience and some not so familiar faces. Really excited to be hosting today. I'll be doing both this session, and then there's another session following this immediately right at 11 o'clock Pacific time as well. So if you stay on, we'll be jumping into even a panel with a bunch of other agencies. And we just have a general discussion about agencies heading into 2022. But our goal with DudaCon is to have each session give you real world practical tips on building amazing websites, whether it's with or without Duda. Our goal is just to help you do a better job and help your clients better with all of this content that we're producing here for DudaCon. So we're really excited to be able to come and share some of our knowledge and bring in folks from the community and also have them share their experience and their expertise as well. So we have a lot of folks joining us from looks like all around the world, which is really awesome to see. We have Tessa from Wisconsin, Eric from Paris. I see Paul. I know Paul's out there in the Philly area. Hey, Paul. Montreal, great. Melbourne, dang, what time is it over there? It's got to be like middle of the, right? It's like late night, right? Something. I wouldn't be awake.
I'm bad at time zones.
Can't miss DudaCon.
Exactly. Hey, Gabrielle. Kirk from Alberta. Welcome everyone. We will have time for questions, so feel free to pop those questions into the chat. We really do want to make this engaging. The way our session today is going to work is that both Evan and RUAN have prepared a presentation for us and kind of to go over some of the techniques and tactics that they use to really scale a lot of their operations. A lot of automations, a lot of cool kind of client interactions that they've set up. And so they're going to be sharing their experience today in a presentation. What the plan is for that to take about 30 minutes or so. And then after, we'll have time for Q&A and questions from the audience and sharing your guys' experiences. Is that about right, guys? That's great.
Yeah, we're excited for it.
Cool. We'll give everyone just another minute to join up here, and we'll jump in and go ahead and get started. Really, really, really happy to be here and have you guys all on board.
Awesome. Yeah, I see some people in the comments that I'm definitely familiar with. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Patricia Zijak and then Craig Morrell. Those are people that we know. And then our team is watching too. They're in the moderating section as well. So Russ, I love the way that you've set this up. It's very professional. The tools that you guys use are amazing over there at Duda, and the preparation for it was very nice. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. We hope to do better and better with these things. We're learning here. It's great. So with all of that being said, I think it's a good time. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Ron, Evan, I'm going to let you guys kind of take it. I know you guys have prepared a presentation. So please go ahead and take it away.
Sure. Yeah. Watching this conversation, this session today for DudaCon is going to be specifically talking about how to scale client services with, really, it doesn't have to be Duda. It could be any website builder that you're using. DevelopMark, our agency, we use Duda. Thanks to Craig Morrell, who's actually watching, who introduced me to the platform. And he was a person that was, long time Duda customer. But anyways, we're going to be talking about that. And then we're also going to be talking about some of the tools and resources that we use to make for a more profitable services for our agency. So today on the agenda, we have number one, the selling model. I think everybody in this chat probably builds websites for a living. So you're definitely going to want to know how to do selling. Number two is we're going to talk about our development process for a faster turnaround. You want to make sure that you can give clients a reasonable expectation of what to expect with their turnarounds. And then number three is how we kind of connect websites for faster turnarounds as well, using some of the little things that we waste a lot of time on, such as connect business information, hours, logos, and some of the stuff that really should just be across the website. Evan's going to really go deep into that. Evan's going to talk a lot about dynamic pages as well, a very cool and useful resource for creating pages at scale, and then how we use API protocols to make our processes a lot better and make our clients stick with us. That's the agenda. Now we're going to move on to DevelopMark and who we are. So we were born in 2018. Initially, we started out as an SEO agency, and then we realized you really need to do the website to do good SEO. So then we slowly transitioned into web design and then SEO. At this time, we're at 17 employees, and these are full-time employees. 2 are part-time, rest are full-time. And so all of us work on our projects collaboratively, and we really like to work with local service-based businesses. These are your mom and pops. These are your plumbers. These are your electricians. These are your dentists. These are your doctors. And all of the services really break down into 3 core components: website design, local SEO, digital marketing. And of course, with that, we use Duda for 100% of our site builds. So now a little bit about me. I'm definitely more on the SEO and the digital strategy side. I've worked on over 1,000 projects on my YouTube channel with over 100,000 subscribers. I would say that I'm a thought leader when it comes to local SEO, not every SEO, but definitely local. And I love my cat, and I'm an avid gamer.
Awesome. Now here's some information about me. So I primarily specialize in design and UX, and in like project management over here. So getting those sites down the line, the production line. I've definitely done over 500 projects just over the years, and primarily all on Duda, because we didn't start making websites until we started using Duda. And yeah, definitely I'm putting in my insight on every site that we make. So I'm a thought leader here with our client design. I love mountain biking, and I've been using Duda for 4+ years. So ever since we've been using it at DevelopMark, and that's kind of a little bit about me.
Awesome. So now we're going to talk a little bit about our core service components, because there's a million different ways that you can offer some of these services to your clients. But really, we've come down to really 7 different things that have really critically increased our client retention. Number one is the website, create a requirement for it. Before we started taking on websites, we had a very big issue with churn, meaning customers would use us for a couple of months and when they would leave. So we made the website a requirement because of retention and because our entire team can access and make edits. And then typically our build time is right around 6 to 8 weeks. That's the expectation that we set with the client. We use our own Duda enterprise account to host and manage all of our clients inside of our content management system. We offer 3 key options for customers, and we're going to talk deeply about those 3 options and why you need to do basically the same exact thing. If there's one thing that you can do right now, if you're watching and you're not doing over $1 million a year inside of your web business, you're going to want to steal all of these slides. And then we do 12-month commitments. We're going to talk about why we do 12-month commitments with our clients. So many agencies out there say, month-to-month service. Well, that's really, really great. There's a specific reason, and it has nothing to do with holding clients hostage as to why we do commitments. We'd like to offer what we call in-house financing. We're going to talk about that, where you actually don't need a financing company to get clients to pay what you want for your website over time. And then DevelopMark is very vertical specific. Where there's so many different types of things that you can target. And so really getting clear on the types of businesses that you want to work with is going to allow you to take on more clients and build a faster development process so you can scale if that's your goal. If you're a freelancer and you're watching this video, you should definitely be vertical specific too, because you have a finite amount of time. And if you can charge a higher price for the time that you're investing into your specific clients, you're going to feel less resentment and you're just going to make more money. So we're going to talk about that on these slides here. So really our selling model really comes down to one sentence. Having only one option is not an option. And our three options really come down to the first one, which is do it yourself. Basically what we do here is we'll charge a one-time cost for a customer and then a really low monthly fee for them to self-manage that website. And what this expectation is really setting is, hey, we're going to set up your website and then you can log into the website and make the edits yourself. And we're still getting that monthly hosting and management fee from them. But then on our second option, we have done with you. And this option is a little more expensive. This one right here, done with you. This option is a little more expensive, but really this is, we're setting up the website and then we're working collaboratively with the client to reach a certain goal. And then our third option we like to offer customers is done for you. These are generally for the growing businesses that are rapidly growing that don't really need to do something with an agency. They want to just offshore it to an agency that they know they can trust. And at this section for the for side, we start to include some of those more intricate services like digital strategy, ongoing content, writing the content for the customer, marketing, link building, programmatic advertising, social media, email, and text message marketing. I see somebody saying in the comments right now, wow, you guys are way cheaper than Ulistic. And I wanted to touch on that. Really, the reason why we're way more affordable than a lot of agencies that are doing this type of stuff is because we built our Duda processes, and any website process really can do this. We like to use Duda. We've built our processes for it to be much less of an overhead, and the customer's value we're looking at is over time. So DevelopMark's model is really like the Verizon wireless model, to where they give you the hardware. We call this is the website, that's the hardware. And then the service, the internet service that you get, so the connectivity to your phone, that's the SEO, that's the PPC, that's the management, that's the hosting. Coming from a cell phone background, I've taken that model and I've put it into the agency realm. So the reason why we charge a low upfront cost is because we know that we're going to bank on that client over hopefully their entire span of their business. So really, that's why we do some of those lower upfront costs. And Stuart, it's really nice to see you. I know you've got a very successful agency too. So now we're going to transition it over to Evan. He's going to talk about our development process.
Sure. So coming off of that, a reason why we're able to be so affordable is because of the way we build sites. So we've been able to optimize it over the years. And that's why we're able to, make sites so affordable, is because we build them so quick and it costs less overhead. So I'll kind of get into our development process here. And it begins, well, it's a 6-week process, and it's broken into 6 basically stages on those weeks. So at the beginning, we're doing a discovery phase where we're going to ask the client what their goals are with the site and, customer personas, who's going to be using the site and what do we need to do on it. From there, we make a sitemap and we really start getting all the beginning things moving. And then we go into implementation. So we have a sitemap made and we're going to basically make edits to that sitemap, have the client approve it so they know exactly how many pages are going to be on their website. And then from there, we'll start thinking about what is going to be on the pages that are within that sitemap. So we'll wireframe some pages and then design them fully and get that approved. The approval stage is the most critical part, or it's one of the most critical parts of the process, because if you don't get something approved in the beginning, like a little bit of work, you're going to end up building an entire website before the client sees anything. And then that creates some huge reveal where you're not sure if the client will like it. And it gives them the opportunity to say, hey, I don't like what I see here. And now you have a whole site built out and you're gonna have to go ahead and change everything. So you can avoid this by putting in an approval stage at the beginning of the process, where you make basically a taste test for them, where you can make one page. Hey, here's the design. This is what we're thinking of doing for the site. They get their chance to approve it or make edits then. That way, before you build out the whole site, you're already going in the right direction and you could save yourself a ton of time. And so
Evan,
yeah,
Evan, can I jump in there? I just have a quick question. Like, when you say do approvals or kind of like do some implementation, does that mean you're doing one page of the site, or are you doing like half a page of the site? I'm kind of curious of like, what does that really look like in reality, and what exactly are you getting approved, right? Does like, because I get that you want to do some small piece of work, but I think it can be unclear of like, is that half the site? Is that a third of the site? Is that just a single page? Like, how do you guys think about that?
That's a great question, and I'll get into the specifics there. So what we actually do is we'll make a homepage and show that to them. That ensures you know, the homepage really is the most critical part of a site, and it will really get across the design, the style, and also the content, like the theme that you're going to use for that site. So that's what I recommend doing. And then everything goes off of the homepage. It is ultimately, that's when people land on the site, that's what they see. And so the rest of the pages should kind of reflect that. So that's what I would recommend doing. And that's what we do. Make the homepage. That way you're only making one page. The client can then get an idea for the design, the content style, and just the flow of the general website. And from there, you'll have an idea. You already know that the client is okay with this. So when you build out the site, it's not that giant reveal that you're anxious about and you're concerned, are they going to like it or not? You already know because you found out 3 weeks ago that they were okay with it. And
Got
then,
it. Thank you.
awesome. Yeah, no, that was a great question. And going forward, so yeah, we'll build out the site, and then when we, you know, we present this to them on a presentation call. We'll go through the majority of the site, not all the inner pages, but just so they get the point. And then after that, we give them an opportunity to make revisions. So we'll give them commenting access. If you're not using Duda, there's plenty of platforms and third parties that you can embed on your website to where clients can leave you comments and leave you feedback. And then we'll go through a back and forth stage of completing their revisions and you know, making sure that the site is totally okay with them. And then we do a technical audit and launch.
Awesome. And I just wanted to touch on that really quick, Evan. You know, or anybody watching this that's really having struggles with design approval, right? Getting the customer to buy into why you did certain things. Something that DevelopMark is going to be doing is we're using a website called usabilitytest.com, where you can actually submit your homepage design and you can have thousands of people around the world leave comments of what's wrong and what's right. So when you meet with your client, you have data and you actually have usability reporting as to what you did. Because in that design approval, we're really selling to the client what we did. We're not just saying, here's your new website. No, we're selling. Here's why we put the picture here. Here's why we put the form here. Here's how we put the colors here. Here's why we use this logo. And getting that approval, because they're not the expert, right? They're not the expert. You are the expert. So you've got to make sure that the same way you sold them on your services, sell them on your design.
Awesome. And so now I'll get into more of the specifics of how we kind of are able to make things so quick and also cut out a lot of the redundancy in building websites. So as far as I'm sure a lot of you know, you'll often work with similar clients and parts of their websites will be able to be used. You could kind of reuse certain things without it really, it's not really diminishing the effect of the website, because everybody kind of needs a contact page and everybody needs like a services section. So you could kind of reuse different parts for different clients, but I'll kind of get into how we specifically use connected data and inline binding. And these are features that other website platforms use. So even if you're not using Duda, you could take advantage of this technology. So, but as far as Duda goes, since that's what we primarily use, and a lot of you use, if you're not using connected data, you definitely need to be, because you're leaving a lot of, you're leaving stuff on the table here. So basically we'll use connected data to optimize our process. We'll use it for business information, phone numbers, email addresses, location, information like business info, and the business name. So in the event that your client changes the name of their business, wherever you wrote that, you're gonna have to go correct that. So if you use connected data for these different basically different pieces of information, you're able to swap them and save a ton of time. So I'll get into the specifics of that. So here's how we use it for business information. So right after we get off an onboarding call where we collect all the information that we need for that project, like the business info, we'll go into the business info panel in Duda, or the content panel, and then completely fill out that business info, basically all those fields. And if they have multiple locations, you should definitely separate them by locations. Duda's given us that wonderful functionality. So got it. And so we'll just fill that out completely. And what this does is we have fields connected already. And so when you put this information in here, I'll show you what it does, but it will fill out a lot of parts of the website that we would normally have to go in and manually do. So here's an example for a phone number. So we have a lot of pages already pre-built in our template that we use to start all of our websites. So we have a main template, a master template, that when we go create a new project, we select that one. And then all we have to do is fill out that business info, and a lot of parts of the website already get completed. So here's an example of a call to action on one of the pages that we already have in our template. And we have the phone number inserted there. It's just a generic 555 number now, but it's connected in data that's within the template. So as soon as we fill out that business info, now we already have certain pieces of the website that are already made.
Yeah, just a comment for that, Evan.
Oh.
Sorry, I just wanted to comment on that really quick. For those that are managing client websites and they say that they want to change the phone number on the website or the contact email or the address or anything along those lines, and you go page by page making these changes and spending money on a developer to do that or yourself doing that, the back end of this, of what Evan's talking about, this connected data, clients can either log into the website and make the change themselves if they're on that first plan, done do it yourself. Or Evan logs in and makes one change and it does it across the website, saving you very precious time.
Exactly. And so even if you're writing a new page, it doesn't even have to be in the setup of the site. Wherever you're going to mention a phone number or one of these business info items, you could use connected data. That way you're future-proofing the site in case you need to change something later. It's just one change in the business info panel instead of making it across multiple pages. And we'll do the same thing for email addresses. So wherever we have an email, that's connected too. And so as soon as we fill out the business info, that's connected. You could also do this for links. So, and you could add new business text fields to do basically custom links. So things that aren't email addresses and phone numbers. And I'll get into that a little bit later. So we'll do it for locations too. And this is items that are commonly in the footer, different places of the site. They're all connected so that you don't have to go do that every time. I'm sure on the sites you make, on most of them, if they're a local business, you're going to put their address and other contact information in the footer. You're also going to put it on the contact page, maybe a couple other places of the site. And that's going to happen every time, regardless of the client. And so why not just put that in your template that you make? And that way you're just eliminating redundant steps. Oops, there we go. And then, yeah, for the client logos. So in the business info, we have the opportunity to put a logo in there. What we'll do is you're gonna need a logo on your mobile header, your footer, and your desktop and tablet headers. So why not connect those things in the template? That way you just have to change it once in the business info at the beginning of the build and never have to worry about it again. And now I'll kind of introduce how you could use connected data for other items, custom items. So say you want something to change on your website, but it's not a phone number and it's not an email address or location. Well, you could go into Duda's business text tab and you could make your own new items that then you can link to and connect to data. So in our area of opportunity that we have seen and used in our business is we'll have clients that request dynamic pricing. So this is pricing that changes day to day, and it's a pain to update. Especially they have to contact us to update it, and we'll have to go onto the page and physically edit that text widget. Or you can make a business text field and basically have the client log into Duda or whatever web platform and change that themselves. That way you don't have to worry about them editing the page, messing with the text on it, and messing with the design.
Yeah, and Evan, I did want to comment on that. And guys, if you're working with local websites, adding pricing has skyrocketed our conversion rates. And sometimes when a business is slow, they may want to lower their price to attract more customers. Sometimes when a business is busy, they may want to increase their prices to weed out time-consuming customers. Giving your customer that option of having them dynamically change the pricing across their entire website is a major value add, because they can fluctuate their pricing based on how busy their business is that month or that quarter.
Yeah, and that also eliminates a lot of those objections that your customers will have with displaying pricing on the website. A lot of times, oh, it might fluctuate. Well, now you can have a way to easily edit that. And we do encourage all of our clients to add pricing on a site. And a lot of times we got pushback from that. So you could do a range, or you could do some type of dynamic, basically a way for them to easily edit it like this. And another huge area of opportunity that I think everybody should be using connected data for is legal text. So I'm sure a lot of your websites have a privacy policy, and a lot of times that privacy policy might not change from client to client, but all that has to change is the name of the business and the domain name that that privacy policy will apply to. So what we've done is we put a page for our privacy policy in our template that we use to create all of our sites, and we've connected the business name and the domain to be swapped out as business text items. And so at the beginning of the project, we put in the URL that the site will eventually go live on, and we'll put the business name in there. And then boom, now we have a nice privacy policy that applies to this site, and we didn't even have to spend any time making that page. So there's a ton of opportunity for dynamic pages in scaling your sites. And really, when you get a project, you should be looking for every area of opportunity to use these. And so the main areas of opportunity that we use dynamic pages for are internal service pages, team pages, location pages, and portfolio pages. But for DevelopMark specific, we call it live folio, and I'll get into why we say that. So you might likely have a lot of service pages on your website, and a lot of times they're going to follow the same format. You're going to have like a title row where you're going to say the name of the page, you're going to get into the body content, and you might have some sort of side navigation. This is standard web stuff here. And so what an area of opportunity is you could keep the same page template, but just have the content swap out. And so it's going to save you a ton of time, because you're not going to have to make static pages. And as going forward, if you have to update like the side navigation, again, you do it on one template, and now you have that change reflected on all the pages, saving you a ton of time. If you were to make these things static, not only would it take longer in the beginning, you'd have to physically duplicate and create these pages, but going forward, if you have to make a change on one of them, you'll have to physically do it to all of them. But if they're dynamic, you can just make the page, the change to the template. And so for team pages, there's pretty much never a time when you can't use dynamic pages for team pages. So anytime we put a team on a website, we're going to do it in a collection. And that way, if anything needs to be updated later, it's super easy. And so this is probably something, if you've looked into if you looked into dynamic pages with Duda, you probably might be doing team pages. And then location pages. Your clients, especially if you're doing local SEO, they might be asking you for these location pages. And a lot of times it's hard to deliver on them, because what are you going to do? You're going to kind of create duplicate content almost, really. And so you don't have much to say really for different towns. Really, not much about their business is going to change. So how do you deliver on that? Well, you could use connected data. You could take their homepage, like we have an example here, and then swap out the town name in some of those sentences so it sounds natural. And now you just make a collection with all the different towns that they want to have, and you could make a ton of different pages that target specific locations. That way, when people land on it, it's more personalized to them. And so, and this is something that your clients are going to look for, but it's also huge on the end user. They get a more personalized feel on each of their pages. And so now I'll kind of get into my favorite part of using dynamic pages, and that's for a client's portfolio. So you're going to see this word live folio up here, and you might be wondering what it is. Well, that's what DevelopMark, me and RUAN and the rest of us here, we call our portfolio pages, and we call it live folio because we're basically giving the client an opportunity to have a live portfolio that constantly gets updated on their website, and this is all done with dynamic pages. So I'm going to get into it a little bit, but it's pretty exciting, and it's something that after this call that you could offer to your clients, and I'll get into why you would want to do that. But basically how it works is we will have a main page where we'll have the portfolio, where we'll have a gallery on there, like you could see on the left, and then each of those gallery items will link to a dynamic page, and I'll get into what those look like. So some of the reasons why you'd want to make a portfolio for your clients are they can rank on Google for location specific keywords. So here's an example of the search engine result page. And you can see one of our actual live folio pages for one of our clients is ranking for a keyword or a location specific keyword. So if you're looking to rank for location specific keywords and you're not doing this, you may be left to make those spammy location pages. So this is a way of getting around from making those typical old-fashioned spammy SEO location pages. And it's a natural way to do it. So you're able to make a page on the client site. It contains the town name, so the location, and the keyword, so the service that they're doing, but it's a natural, authentic way of doing it. And when they click on that result from the search, they're met with an actual job that they did in that town, and likely the person is from that town. And so that's way better than them landing on some spammy SEO page where the text doesn't make sense because there's a lot of keywords. So it's definitely huge for that. And also another one of my favorite parts with having these portfolio pages being made is it creates social content very easily. So I'll show you how we create these pages based on the client's content that they give us and how we're able to then make social media posts from that content. So here's an example of one of these portfolio pages, and the client will provide us this content. So I'll kind of get into how that works, but this is what one of the pages will look like. It'll have a before and after and say a little bit about the job with a job description. And this information is all provided by the client via a form on their website. So let me get into how this kind of works. So we'll create the page design, and then we'll embed an Airtable form on their website that's password protected. So the client logs into their own website and submits an Airtable form, and they give us information about the project that they just did. So they'll submit before and afters and give us a little bit of information about the project, like a description. And from there, we're able to take that information and make a new page on the website in a different collection. So they'll submit it into a collection. We'll take that information, and this is all happening in Airtable, and we'll make a page based on that. And so they'll submit us before and afters, all that information, we'll take it, put it into a collection, and then it creates this page because we've already made that page design. And then with this same exact content, another area of opportunity is you can then make a social post and link back to that page that you just made. So if you've ever been wondering or wanting to offer social media to your clients, this is a way to do it, and they provide the content via the jobs that they're already doing. And this works especially good for local service-based clients because they're out in the field and they're doing work that is visible, but it's also useful for a ton of clients. Anybody that has a visible result, a dentist, it could be any business. We've done photography companies who they put a full portfolio of each different project with a whole basically gallery of all the pictures that they've taken at that specific project. And basically you're able to create pages on their site as well as social media content. And this is all submitted from the client via an Airtable form on their website.
That's awesome. Evan, if I can jump in here, I've got several questions about this because I think it's a really cool process. How do you guys kind of think about curating that content or reviewing the content, right? Like, when they submit that Airtable or the Airtable form, does that immediately go into the website, or do you guys have a process internally to review it and get that uploaded into, kind of the dynamic pages that you mentioned?
Great question. So yeah, the client submits the content, but as you might suspect, that content is not exactly web ready. They might be in the field and just writing, hey, we did this, we did that. And that it might not be what you want your end user to see. So we'll have those submissions, they get fed into an Airtable, and we're using an Airtable form. So they just go right into an Airtable. We actually get notified when that happens. So you could set that up. It's super easy in Airtable. We use Slack. And so we'll have that message get sent into Slack. Hey, this client just submitted this new portfolio item. We'll get them a notification, log in, take that information that they submitted. So the project description, the before and afters, and then we'll put that into another collection. In Airtable, you could do it in the same base. And you could also do this in Google Sheets, but it works better in Airtable because they have a form that's native. But it'll get fed into one table. We'll take that and then put it into another table that is the actual data that's connected to the pages. So that's a great question. And no, the client submission, the information that they submit doesn't get fed directly to the website.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the concept of also just reusing that content, right? Like being able to use that in multiple different ways. If it is a portfolio, they're adding new projects that they're just finishing. They should be announcing that on their website, and they should be, announcing it obviously through other channels too, right? Social, email, whatever it might be. I think it's an awesome idea, an awesome use case.
Yeah, and it's at the end of the day, I mean, you're able to offer social media, and nobody at your agency or as a freelancer, you're not go ahead and creating that, which is so hard to do.
Awesome. And I just want to touch on that really quick, Russ, if you don't mind. Guys, if you're doing local SEO, this is absolutely critical, because somebody that asking you, what are you guys doing every month, which is the age-old question for local SEO agencies, like, what are you guys doing every month? This is setting up a relationship between you and the client where they're actually encouraged and incentivized to submit content to the website. This is creating local SEO pages that Google's not going to penalize, because Google doesn't like doorway pages. And it's creating social posts, it's updating their Google My Business, and you're getting media to update their Yext listings if you're managing their directories. So once again, I can't stress how critical this process is if you're doing ongoing local SEO.
Yes, and as you can see with this social media post that we have in front of us, what RUAN just touched on, uploading this to the Google My Business, as well as any other online directories, that's critical. And so, yeah, you're able to basically have free social media content submitted from the client and update the Google My Business as well. And I think we get to the end of that, but I'm sure we're gonna have questions. And I saw that somebody wanted a live demo on that. We definitely have to do that because I know, as you can see, it's a pretty involved process. There's lots of moving parts. So we could definitely do that.
Yeah. Evan, I'm going to immediately direct one question to you from Sandra, just asking, how do you set up the Airtable on your website? Can you just describe, the process quickly?
Yeah, totally. So within Duda, you've probably seen the content inside the content tab. There's the collections area, and so if you're unfamiliar with collections, it's basically just a database. But you could go look up collections. But for those that already know collections, you can use an internal collection with Duda. You can use a Google Sheet or an Airtable, and there's multiple options in there. And so I tend to use Airtable because it's basically a more robust Google Sheet. And if you're unfamiliar with Airtable, don't be discouraged. It's super user friendly, awesome, and you could use it. And I definitely, if you're doing any collection in Google Sheets, I recommend probably moving it to Airtable. You may just have more functionality that you could use. So yeah, in the content tab in Duda in the editor, go to collections, and then you could add a new Airtable collection, create an Airtable account, and then you could connect your collection like that.
Yeah.
And then as far as the form, how we'll do that to collect the content is Airtable. If you create a sheet in Airtable, you can select a view and do a form, and then you can get an embed code from that form. And then we embed that on a private page on the customer's website, and we'll title that page like portfolio submissions or client login. And then they click on that, put in their password, and we have it password protected in Duda so that random people can't go in there and submit new portfolio items.
That's a good idea.
But yeah, we'll embed that Airtable form in there, password protect the page, and link to it somewhere small in the footer, and tell the client, hey, you could go on this page, log in, submit us data. From there, we're going to take that data. We're going to make a page on your website. We're going to post on social media. We're going to update your Google My Business. All these things happen, and it's real data that the client submitted, and we didn't have to create it as an agency.
That's awesome. Thank you, Evan. The next question here from Julia, I'm going to direct it to you, Ruan. What if your customers have no clear idea who their customers are? Or do you charge any extra for like strategy consulting when you're working with potential customers?
So we don't do consulting necessarily because we're really looking for businesses that kind of already have an objective of what they're looking to accomplish. We will do digital consulting, meaning like, here's the best way to position this, or here's the best way to transition this and this. We're not necessarily a consulting firm. We're more of a digital execution firm. So often our clients are coming to us and they say, hey, Russ, I have a goal of getting to 5 million. I want to do more junk removal. How can we do more junk removal? And how can we lower our overhead and get more reviews? So then we'll do that consulting and then actually make the plan and then execute it for them.
Got it. That's great. There's a question earlier that I wanted to ask from Brian. And Brian was asking, when you guys develop sites, do you do this kind of content first, or do you do it like design first? You know, you talked about how you map out, you know, kind of the site map, then you go and design a page or two of the sites themselves. How do you think about kind of structuring the entire web build? Is it really based, like, is it content first or kind of design, or do you kind of mix the process?
It's definitely content first. I believe like the design should probably follow the content. So what we'll do is we'll have a content call in the beginning, but we'll also, the first thing we do is we make a sitemap of their existing site, and then we make a proposed sitemap. So we'll basically see areas of opportunity of pages that we take out that aren't working and pages to add. And so we'll see, as far as the client goals that we collect in the beginning, as far as what type of pages that we want to add to the site. But it's definitely content driven. And as far as the page design, like if I'm going to design a homepage, a lot of times people get caught up in the design of it, how they want it to look. But I think it's better to ask the client, what will people expect to see when they want to land on this website? What are typical like objections that we have to answer before they're ready to contact? I will answer like those, or ask those goal specific questions. And then basically figure out what content we need on that page to complete the goal that page needs to make. And then the design, it's just how to best lay out the content. And then the design, it's not as important as the content, because it's just how things look. And so likely that's going to be off of the brand that they already have. And, but yeah, design is just how to fit that content in the best way possible. So
yeah,
content, then design.
Content first. Got it. Cool. I'm going to continue on with some questions if you guys are okay with this.
Sure.
eSpirit Travel and Tours was asking, what's the average size of the sites for the price ranges that you guys outlined? How big are they, and kind of where do you think about trying to move people up that food chain?
Yeah, so I'll kind of touch on that. I think that most of our sites are probably within the like 30 to 50 pages size. And that really falls into usually it's done with you, but several of our clients are done for you. But when we get a client, the reason we're a digital execution company is because we're not just looking at how our visitors are going to interact with the website. We're also thinking about how is that website going to appear on the search engines. So often when we get a new website, we have a joke here inside of the office that it's like, oh my God, we have to create so many pages, because our SEO, who's actually live in the call right now, will create a sitemap that is filled with pages to rank for certain keywords individually on the website. And then our content team will start to make it, and then we design. So really, we're trying to really make sure that we're writing contextual articles and web pages to rank for keywords. And that makes our websites on average probably 30 to 50 pages on the smaller side. On the larger side, we have sites with hundreds of pages. And we're actively adding these pages for our clients. We're not necessarily waiting for them to tell us to add pages.
Got it.
And yes, it's original copy. Original copy there. We were doing 300 words. This year, we're moving to 1,000 plus words. Google still loves copy on the website. And just so you guys know, at the top of the website, we're not keyword stuffing. We're kind of adding a hero image, a very little slogan, and then we're adding the body copy lower on the page so Google can still read it. But most of the original copy is our content team researching that client, calling that client's business and asking questions, almost secret shopping them, and then creating content uniquely for them and making it completely unique every single client.
You just touched on something like this, like secret shopping. Can you tell me more about that? Because that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, hey, we're going to work with this client. Can you go inside of their store and buy something and bring back what you found on the entire experience?
So do you guys do that pretty regularly, or is that like something when you need more detail? Like how do you guys, obviously like you task your team with doing that? Yeah.
If they're local, it's a very regular thing.
Yeah.
If they're national, we'll actually just call and try to get information. But
Sure.
usually that secret shop is clients are very, very difficult to get on the phone sometimes. And you need information fast because we're trying to stick within that 6 to 8 week deadline because we want to get paid, right? And then so we usually will just send people there regardless of the cost. If it's a dental cleaning or if it's a Botox or if it's even we're secret shopping another agency because we want to know how they do things, we'll actually pay to do that for our projects.
Interesting. Cool. We've got a question on screen here from Kirk. Do you guys use any AI content creator or are you guys kind of writing this content from scratch?
So if we're working within the same vertical, we will use our own proprietary text that's already written and then spin it for the client's specific scenario. If we're writing a brand new industry, then we go into that, call the business, ask the business owner questions, secret shop them, and then write the copy. You're going to find that when you start offering your customers those three options, do you want to do it yourself? You want to write all the copy? Do you want us to do it with you? Or do you want us to do it completely? On the completely side, we'll do the secret shop. If it's them submitting the content, you don't even have to worry about it. But generally speaking, we try to avoid using AI completely. And the reason for this is we've actually seen websites get denied for AdSense because the text is too similar to other websites. If Google's denying your website for AdSense, it's probably a good idea they're not going to index your pages. So we try to run that test if we are using any AI copy. But usually if they're denying it AdSense and it's already a sign that's going on, they're probably not going to rank you at the top spot for Google. So we try to make it as custom as possible.
Got it. Todd here is asking, how do you guys manage to make over 100 pages for a service business? I know how you do it, but how often do these pages, get visitors and do they convert and actually drive leads? Do you guys see that as like a real effective channel?
Yes, and I'll explain why. We've noticed that the moment we started adding more pages to our website, our bounce rates significantly got lower. We're talking 2% bounce rate on our average website, which is unheard of. The reason for that is because when a visitor comes to a website, they're looking for specific information that has their best interest in mind. Websites like ClickFunnels or things that just have funnels and just give the user one option restricts that person from navigating the website of finding information that's relevant to them. So we'll create pages on their services. We'll create pages about their frequently asked questions. We'll create blogs. We'll create as much content on that website as possible without doing keyword cannibalization, which is creating pages about the same keyword phrase over and over and over again. So the strategy there is we're not really looking for these pages to get a ton of traffic. We're really looking for those pages to go through the behavior flow and let people navigate through the website, because the more pages on average they go through the website, the more likely they are to become a lead, but the more also Google's going to raise your website in the rankings because of usability functions.
Got it.
And that's also why we're so keen on doing the portfolio, is because we're giving people more pages to explore. And especially those portfolio pages, a lot of people will click around through those and spend some time looking at the pictures. So it's another addition.
Yeah, got it. One question I had and I wanted to dig in on a little bit is you guys have put in a lot of kind of automation and kind of practices around, cool, how do we build these sites? How do we scale our interactions with our clients? How do you guys think about actually implementing those, within your organization, right? You guys have, several hundred sites that you guys manage at a time. Is this something where, at the beginning, you may have not done these things and you did it all over email and you implemented this? How did you think about, trying to, kind of scale and systematize some of these operations as you, grew your client base?
Okay, I want to answer that first, and then Evan, I'll give you an opportunity to answer that. I have a really good answer for that. So when you have an iPhone, right? And you're going to get the second version you're going to get the iPhone, I don't even know what we're on. We're going to get the iPhone 13 or whatever it is. Apple doesn't just update your hardware while you're in the 2-year contract. You have to wait to get the new hardware. So what we're doing is we're aggressively focusing on making our product better, but we're not executing that product until our clients do a redesign. And just like Apple or Verizon or whatever, when you go to get a new phone, you lock yourself into another contract. So we're following that same model with our websites in the sense of your website today has this built into it. When you redesign with us and lock yourself into another agreement, you're going to get all of these new fancy automations. And this way, we're not trying to go into previous accounts and try to create all of this extra work. They're already okay with what they have, right? So Evan's going to talk more about like organizational automations that we may make to make our jobs easier. But usually we'll wait to update the tech stack of a website once it's up for redesign, so we can use that approach again.
So if I just understand, it's just like new stuff going forward, right? You're not going to go back and say, hey, Mr. Customer, I signed a year and a half ago. We're not going to come and enhance this new prospect. It's like, this is new stuff going forward, and that's helping us scale just that individual customer, but also the next one and the next one and the next one. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, Evan, if you want to give some details, that'd be awesome of how you guys actually do it.
Yeah. So some instances we use automation is when they submit that new portfolio item, we'll get a notification in Slack. So even if you don't use Slack, you could just get an email notification, and that can happen in Airtable. Some other instances, we'll have automations that happen after client submits info, like when we collect in their info in their onboarding doc, we'll have an email get sent to the whole team. Hey, we just completed the onboarding call. So after these critical steps, you can have triggers that basically get sent to your team that notifies the team along of basically where you are in that project. And Ruan, you can get into another question too.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, I actually have one other question I wanted to ask on your guys' kind of launch process. You mentioned during your presentation that you use site comments, you allow the customer to log in and kind of comment on the site. What if the customer doesn't engage with you guys? Like, do you have a deadline that you said? Because I know that you mentioned this is a big pain. So how do you guys exactly handle that?
I'll let Evan take that one.
Yeah, I mean, basically what we tell them is we're gonna, if the ball's in their court and they're not doing anything, then that's kind of on them. And then but this is what typically happens. We'll present the website on a Zoom call like this. We'll go through the main pages, and then we'll say you can give your general feedback here in this call and express your general concerns. But then as far as detailed things, maybe specific images or text that we want to change, you'll have a ton of opportunities to do that with a commenting tool that we have. And we'll give them a week to do that. And maybe if your site's smaller, you could give them less time. And some clients, they do it that day, and they get back to us and say, hey, I'm done. But we'll typically give them a week to do that. But you're right. Sometimes clients don't submit or use the commenting tool, and we'll kind of just wait and really follow up with them and keep following up with them. But as you could imagine, that would make their project last longer. But as soon as we put the ball in their court, it's kind of on them to get back to us in that commenting stage.
Yeah. Got it. Makes sense. Cool. This is the exact question I was going to go to. Sandra's asking, no one ever really answers this question, she feels. How do you guys gauge pricing? Is it number of pages? Is it words? How do you guys kind of price exactly? Yeah. All
right. So this is probably one of my favorite topics ever. You could have two businesses, right? One is about to launch a website, and they're expecting 1 million visitors tomorrow to go to their website and buy a bunch of things online from their website. One is just starting their business, and they're expecting maybe 10 people to go to their website tomorrow morning, and they're really not expecting anything to happen with their website. As a designer, which one do you feel you're more stressed out about? Is it the one that's going to get 1 million visitors tomorrow, where they're expecting you to do all of this stuff and not to break, and it's really make or break for their business? Or is it the one that's just starting their business and they don't really care for their website and they just want something up that people can see? Well, obviously, you want a business to do well when they have 1 million website visitors. There's a lot of things that could go wrong, right? Very similar to if you were to design a logo for Starbucks compared to designing a logo for a brand new business. If you do Starbucks' logo wrong, it's going to impact millions of dollars and millions of people. If you do some new business's logo wrong, you're really not going to impact anybody because nobody's going to see it. In comes value-based pricing, which basically says you are going to pay $5 for a Coca-Cola instead of a movie theater because you're trying to buy the experience and it's convenient. But you're going to pay 20 cents for a can of Coca-Cola when you buy it at Costco and it comes with 40 cans per container. The reality of it is every situation is different, and you really need to gauge what that client's problem is and place a premium with that. If a client comes to you and they don't have a problem, you can't price high fees because there's no risk. The client has no problem. There's no risk for you doing the work. If a client comes to you and they have really big problems and they need the site launched in 7 days, and we normally do it 6 to 8 weeks, we can justify a really high price. My recommendation to you is, using the 3 options that you have, utilize value-based pricing. How urgent is it for that client to get that project up and running? And what's the risk if they don't? And now you can validate that, because if Domino's Pizza says, if we don't have this update on our website, we're going to lose out on $30 million worth of sales. Well, I could probably do that for you for $3 million, right? That makes more sense than just saying this price costs $3 million and the customer's going, well, why? Well, you have to associate risk in doing business with you. So value-based pricing is one of the most critical components when it comes to selling this stuff. There's no cookie cutter price. We definitely don't do it by page, and we most certainly do not do it by hour. Because why should you be penalized for the 10 years you spent learning how to do something really fast and charge by the hour? It just doesn't make any sense.
I love it. I couldn't agree more with charging for your experience, not for just an hourly rate. I love it. What kind of shifting, the next question I want to ask here, kind of shifting over to the local SEO side. Zachary is asking, do you have a talk track regarding those you feel like are, do you have a talk track regarding those who feel Duda lacks SEO functionality or hinders performance? We've never seen this evidence, but get this question daily while selling. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, that's in the sales process, and Evan, I'll let you touch on that too. In the sales process, when we disclose that we use Duda as the primary web platform to build their website, the question is always, well, I heard WordPress is better for SEO. And when every time we ask them the source of that, it's always, I heard a YouTuber or a blogger talking about why you should use WordPress. And the reality of it is Google reads WordPress and they read Duda the same way that they read any other website. They're really reading the page source, and they're not really reading the CMS, they're reading the page source. The way that Duda organizes the information inside of the page source is very similar to how WordPress does it. So Duda has every single functionality that WordPress has. And in fact, it has a faster core web vitals on average than your average WordPress website. And it's more secure. So if a plugin gets hacked and it gets taken down, then you're definitely going to lose page rank because you're not going to have an active website that's 404ing. So because Duda also uses Amazon Web Services, it has a faster upload and download time generally than a WordPress website does, an average one, right? You have some agencies that are really good with WordPress, so I don't want to downplay those. But generally speaking, when the clients come to us and they ask those questions, it's usually because of a pre-believed notion of what they've heard from some blog. And that blogger has never heard of Duda. So, if you introduce them to Duda, I would be curious to know what they'd say. Usually we go down that route and then we show examples of some rankings that we've gotten with Duda websites. And that's really the importance of actually having results. So you can show clients when they have those objections. Evan, I don't know if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, this is an objection we get all the time, pretty much every time. And people, they're just generally concerned that they might not have heard of Duda before. And you just have to pretty much tell them that it's not our backyard creation. Like if they decide to cancel with us, they can just take their Duda site and put it in their own account, and they can edit their website and do a lot of things that they probably weren't able to do on different platforms like WordPress. As soon as I say that it's not our backyard kind of website builder tool, and it's very, they can't then take their site if they want to leave from us. As soon as I say that, they pretty much don't care. And as far as SEO concerns, if the client is concerned that their SEO might not be as good as a WordPress site, I pretty much say there is absolutely no difference to Google whether your website's built with WordPress or Duda, because there's nothing that you can do in WordPress that you can't do in Duda as far as SEO.
That's awesome. Great. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you both coming on today. We have time for one last thought, one last tip, one last kind of comment from you guys. We're going to wrap up, and we're heading into our next session immediately after this panel with a bunch of different agencies discussing how they're approaching 2022.
Awesome.
Any thoughts from your guys' side?
Yeah, I would say there's no perfect way of doing the business that we're doing, the website design, the local SEO, the ads. If you found success, follow that success, because if you try to copy somebody word by word, it's never going to be successful. You're just going to try to do something somebody else already did. The marketplace is going to reward you for what you're outputting inside of the actual ecosystem. So tailor your services to whatever it is that you feel. There's marketing agencies that charge $99 a month for websites, and they're doing hundreds of millions of dollars. Hibu is a really good example of that. DevelopMark's product is a lot more extensive than Hibu's, but that's just not their market. They're not interested in getting the $5,000 a month local client. They'd rather sell local butcher shops, local this, and just charge a minimal fee for the services that they're offering. And Duda gives you the toolkit to do that. So you can find success any way doing it. Don't think that there's one way of doing it.
And then just one thing to end, even if you're not making 100 websites a month, it's still in your best interest to optimize your process, because even if you're a freelancer, that is your valuable time. So, definitely use connected data, make a template for your sites, and just try to optimize your process as much as possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Evan and Ron. You guys were awesome. This was a really great kind of conversation and presentation. Thank you both for coming on and sharing some of your experience and your knowledge and kind of your processes here. This was really cool. So thank you both.
Thank you so much, Russ, for having us on.
Great.
Thank you.
We're going to get a bunch of folks joining us here and for our next conversation.
Awesome.
Russ, guys, good to see you.
Hello. Hi, everyone. How's it going?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, nice to see everyone.
So far, so good.
Alberto, Tina, Peter, Sharon, Josh, how are you guys?
Great.
Good.
Yeah, we're really good, thank you.
Good. Really excited to have you guys on here for our day 2 and our agency panel. Really excited for this conversation. We met earlier. Was it earlier this week, late last week, something like that? And we all had a pretty awesome conversation originally. So really excited for a lot of the questions, a lot of kind of the conversation we're going to have here today. Why don't as we jump in, why don't we go and start with just a round of introductions, and we can start kind of across the top. Alberto, if you want to start and introduce yourselves, just tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about kind of your agency and your company.
Sure. Hi, guys, and hi, everyone connected. Thanks for being here. I'm Alberto Alvarez. I'm the CEO of LDM. We are a group of companies focused on marketing and ad tech innovation. We work with 3 types of clients, big advertisers, mid-market, and a very big business about SMBs and automated solutions for SMB and development of the market. We are located in Latin America in 9 countries. It's great to be here, by the way.
Awesome. Thank you, Alberto. Peter, Sharon, do you guys want to jump in and go next?
Yeah.
Sharon.
Hi, I'm Sharon from Kangaroo, UK.
I'm Peter from Kangaroo as well. So we're the directors here. So Kangaroo have been going for 20 years now. We've been on the Duda platform for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
Converting from all the other platforms. We had WordPress and
Joomla and Drupal and
all of them. So yeah, we've been here for a while. So our main focus, well, we're a full service agency, and we are being steered towards the marketplaces like Amazon and products and services, that sort of thing.
Got it. Cool. Thanks for joining both of you guys. Josh, do you want to jump in and introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Josh Neimark, co-founder and creative director of Fix8 Media. We're headquartered in Colorado, although we have a dispersed team. I built my first website in 1998, so a while back, and we started Fix8 Media, me in 2007, more officially in 2010, and we've grown into, I think we're 10 or 11 people now.
That's great.
And I'm Tina. I work alongside Josh as the operations director at Fix8 Media, basically helping him run the day-to-day business and in charge of marketing and SEO for our company.
That's great. And Frank, you want to jump in and round us off?
Sure. My name is Frank Condon. I'm the CEO and founder of Devobal Technologies here in the United States. We've been going since about 2000, building websites on about every platform out there over the years, and now we solely work on Duda. We have 3 sides to our company. One, we do custom widget development for Duda agencies. We do custom website designs for local businesses, and we have a white label help desk that we support other agencies and their clients with.
That's great. Thank you all for joining today, and we've got a great crowd and a good diverse group here. For anyone in the audience, please jump in and ask questions. This is an open conversation where we want to interact with everyone here in the audience and answer questions. We do have a bunch of questions that we're going to talk and just kind of go as a panel around the room and go over. But feel free to jump in at any point and ask questions of how they're running operations, how they're scaling, what they're looking forward to. Any type of questions that you guys find relevant, please go ahead. So I think I think the first thing, just starting on the theme of heading into 2022 here, really starting off, what are things that you guys are really trying to look and do different going into 2022, starting off? And Alberto, I'll direct this to you at first, and then if anyone else wants to jump in after, please go ahead. But what are those next options or operations or products or things that you're looking at?
Sure. Amazing question. So for us, it all started back in 2021. Our main difference on what we're doing this year is, for the first time, we started our annual business planning last year, right? Usually we did it on January to be ready for the year. For this year, we did it on October. So we were already planning for everything that was going to happen, even in January. So one of the key difference there is this January has been one of the best Januaries we have ever had. Usually, in our case, I don't know, in other regions, January is usually a soft month because, people start slow, people start, activating on the second part of the month. For us, has been a very good start. So that was number one, better planning ahead. Second, we are focusing way more on scaling and the automated solution we have for SMBs. We have a clear focus on how to really develop the region, Latin America, but even emerging markets later on. And based on that, we're also focused on how we work better on alliances to develop the markets. How we can join with Duda, how we can bring all the players, make alliances so we can go forth and have a bigger impact on the market. Those will be like the three main things this year.
That's great. Anyone else want to add in or jump in there?
Yeah, we do the same thing. The fall, last fall, we went through and evaluated what we did right, what we did wrong. We make some adjustments, and we look at our process really closely from the time we start talking to a client to delivering them their site to how we transition them to our support team. And we'll constantly refine that, look at where we're weak and just kind of fix those areas. And then we really don't let we just keep moving. We keep working, and we don't really let the environment, the political environment, COVID, we try not to let that slow us down. We get up and work. And I think and we've had some really good years.
For us, COVID's been very kind to us as an agency. We have just a phenomenal growth, haven't we?
We've been inundated with digital requests. But we did too plan early, like Alberto said, and that has really helped us as well. We have had the busiest January we've ever had. That really has helped.
Yeah, we targeted for example, we've got we've actually got a 5-year target. However, we've hit our 3-year plan last month in December and wasn't even here for 10 of those days. So it's really good.
It is about planning. It's definitely about
systems
planning.
And processes is what our main focus is on at the moment as well.
Yeah.
When you guys say systems and processes, is that just saying, great, how do we respond to clients faster? How do we get sites set up quicker? Is that really digging in on those specific items and trying to optimize every single step?
Exactly that. So we're using things like Active Campaign to help us respond faster. We're using connected data. We're using dynamic pages and building sites faster. And just give you some idea, 3 years ago we were building, I don't know, a website a month, maybe 2 at the absolute max on a good month. we're building more websites. We're building 17 sometimes, some months 20, and we've just partnered with another agency. We'll be doing over 50 in a month. So we have to concentrate on scaling our agency to be able to manage customers' expectations. We're lucky we don't lose any. Well, we haven't lost any customers since we've been with Duda, and it's just managing that growth, but equally giving the individual people, clients, that one-to-one touch points.
How one of the things I always have problems with is how do you get out of the day-to-day grind of like, you're executing, you're building for clients, but you need to do things more operationally efficient, but you're always in an urgent mode to get websites done, get websites built. Do you have a way of just like taking a step back and
they don't call me
figuring that out?
Well, yeah, but there is one thing that we do is we have a business coach. And the business coach, that's every month, and they help us to focus on the business rather than being in the weeds, how most people are. Yes, that's really helped us steer what we need to do. But the streamlining the processes, connecting the data to the websites, that's been a big game changer for us, and will continue to be refined over the next few months as we ramp up with this other partner. I noted there's a couple of questions coming up on the comments. Do you want me to answer a couple of them?
Sure. Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So how we find our niche market? Well, actually, we did go down a niche, which is detailers. One thing that's really, really big in the US, not so much in the UK. So we saw that as an opportunity. We looked at all sorts of. We had a brainstorm with the team. That's how we started with it, and we looked at all the different sectors that we could go for. And detailers came up tops, and one of the reasons was because it was booming in the US. We could see the search volumes, and that was a good indication. And usually, what is booming over there will eventually come over to the UK. And we're starting to see that. It's slow, but it will come. So we've actually built a separate site just for detailers for that package. It's slow to start, but it'll move, So yeah,
that's great. Cool. I'm gonna shift directions here of the conversation a little bit. We all, some of you guys kind of hinted at COVID. I want to ask one question, specifically to COVID. I know everyone's tired of talking about it. I'm tired of talking about it, but I think it's still important, right? It's still, that the question looming over a lot of our heads, especially when it comes to running our businesses. What have you guys done specifically to help, your customers and your businesses during this COVID timeframe? Is there something that you guys have really implemented that's been successful? I'm going to point this directly to Josh and Tina, because I know you guys have done some stuff that's really specific there.
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody kind of freaked out in early 2020, and we were like, what's going to happen? Now that everything's shut down, and how's this going to impact our business? And this is kind of right around the time that Fixate was really heavily into starting to build more and more Duda websites. So we were really trying to ramp up our clients to get them into the platform. So we came up with, we called it the Pandemic Business Stimulus Package. And it was a really low entry level down payment of $7.99. And then we spread out the rest of the payments, $49 a month for 24 months. So once we launched the website, the hosting kicked in, we started the $49 a month for 2 years. And it was really great because it really let a lot of people, get into their sites for like a really affordable price. And they still got the whole Fixate experience. So that was really successful for us. And then for us as an agency, it allowed us to onboard a lot more new clients into the Duda platform, because for a long time, as Josh will probably mention later, we were really primarily Squarespace designers. So this was it was kind of a win-win for us and for the clients. So.
Yeah, and it definitely added to our own internal exposure to the platform. Like we were doing all of our custom work there, and then all of a sudden you onboard dozens and dozens of the stimulus package up to our eyeballs in Duda, which was great because we were forced to learn all the wonderful components all at once. But yeah, so it was a gamble, but yeah, definitely helped us onboard a lot of people, and I think helped a lot of people that were looking for side hustles or additional income during COVID, or I don't know what I'm going to do. I might need a website kind of plan. So yeah, it was fulfilling in that way too, I think.
Yeah. And I feel like, we've definitely gotten to a state where, most people are definitely over it. We're handling surges and things are going well. Is this something you guys, still kind of driving business and driving relevancy for you guys? Or do you think it's kind of people are tired of it and it's over and we need to continue kind of business as usual, pre-pandemic? How are you guys thinking about this? How are you discussing this with your clients? How does, kind of your website process change just related to this? I'll direct that either to Josh and Tina or Frank, if you have any thoughts there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that our process has changed a great deal in light of COVID. And I think that, like you said, I do think a lot of people are tired of talking about it. We're trying to move on. But the whole workspace has changed. I mean, like work and life are now, a lot of people are working from home. And like Josh said, I think it was an opportunity for a lot of people to maybe start the business that they've always wanted to, build a website for like a sort of a side hustle that they've always been thinking about. So, in that sense, I mean, I think continuing to nurture that growth, but I don't think that for us, at least, COVID really impacted our web design and development processes per se.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say for us, it helped us a little bit in that we felt on the sales side, we had to drive to the appointments and do all these demos in person, and we don't have to do that anymore. And it saves us time. And, everybody's used to video chat, Zoom, whatever end product they're using. So there's been a benefit there. And I think a lot of people working from home think, okay, how about a side hustle? How can I get something going? So we've increased our sales over the years. But the other thing is we are very focused on one side of our house, and that's working with agencies. So some of these agencies had to let some of their, design and development team go. And they've shifted it over to the partners like Fixate and ourselves and whoever else on here that does work for agencies. So we've been able to support them and get them back up on their feet.
That's great. That's cool to hear. It's definitely a good point there, Frank. Just about the fact that new people are kind of coming out and needing websites, and there's a lot of different kind of use cases and businesses being formed. It's really kind of dynamic atmosphere for sure.
Yeah, I was just going to add too. I think since the pandemic, well, we've always supported agency clients. A lot of really small agencies, sometimes one-person agencies, have all started to reach out to partners. So we've done a lot more of that kind of work as other people are trying to grow their own little businesses, right? And so that's been a result of it as well.
Kind of we hinted at this. You guys hinted at this a little bit of work has really changed, obviously, in the last little bit of time. How do you guys think about hiring and finding talent? I think it's a really competitive market out there. Is there any type of area that A, you're focusing on, or B, the way that you find folks? Alberto, I'll go right to you. Yeah.
Yes, for us, it was an important change. We started a strategy what we call borderless talent. So originally, we have offices in 9 countries. So we try to hire people in one of those countries. Now we hire people wherever they are. So at the end, I think right now we have people working in 18 to 20 different countries that are part of our team. That are not freelancers, are really part of the team. Because at the end, the office is in your home, wherever you are. So it's the same if you are, in your home in a country where we have offices or not. It's the same. That helps us a lot to be more competitive, to get more and better quality of talent. People, for the way I see it, are happier because we're more flexible for them, and even people that was interesting. People that was an immigrant, maybe living in a country, decided to move to a new country, and they continue working with us because at the end it's the same. They're the same for us. That helps us a lot, to hire faster, hire better, retain better, or retain more.
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I'd echo what Alberto's just said there. We to help us with our growth, we have two challenges. One is we're in a small village. I won't say in the middle of nowhere, but we are, it's a small sort of a small village, and the talent pool and the technology, we're full service. So, we do pay-per-click, we do Amazon, we do SEO, we do everything. Websites, obviously. They're not all here. So we've done exactly the same as Alberto. We've got staff that's moved from the UK to Spain. We hire people in America, in Brazil, France,
India,
all over the world. And we're now a team of 26.
But we also look at the government offerings. So, in the UK, there's been a couple of things like the apprenticeship scheme and the Kickstarter scheme. And we've hired in both of those, and both have been successful. The Kickstarter scheme has now turned out, we've just offered him a full-time job. So he's been full-time since the beginning of this month. And that's been really useful for us.
I mean, let's be real here. It's not perfect every time. We have to kiss a few frogs along the way, but it's hire slow, fire fast.
I'd also say that the Duda Experts is the place to go, because when you go there, right, and you get one of us, we actually have a network that can really fulfill most anything you bring in. So with Devobal, we have a little boutique high-end web development side of our house. 90% of our work, we use other Duda partners like Fixate, The Camel, Olive Street. They do our design work. Mm-hmm. And in return, we do some of their complex widget work that they're not able to do. So when these agencies go into the Duda expert pool, they're really connecting with hundreds of designers and developers all over the world that we've already vetted. We've already kissed the frogs, right? So you come to us and we can find you. If somebody comes to us and we can't fulfill them, we'll send them to one of our partners and say, hey, go to Fixate or go to wherever. So I think that's a really good resource for them. Instead of trying to kiss the frogs on their own, come to us, we'll help them. And we share people all the time.
That's awesome. I mean, it's an awesome answer, because it's not just about hiring, right? It's about finding resources and finding people to execute on behalf of your clients. And that can obviously doesn't have to come from internal. It can come from any source out there. It's definitely a tool in the toolbox of any agency to kind of use the wide range of talent. It's one of the things I really like about the web community in general. Everyone is so friendly and open and willing to help each other out, that these things kind of flow really naturally. And there's a lot of different options out there to really pick and choose from. It's one of the areas I really enjoy this space in. So I wanted to ask one of the questions that came in from eSpirit Travel and Tours. What are your primary growth drivers? Is it ads? Is it networking locally? Is it referrals? Where are you guys driving new leads from? I'll start with Josh here.
We're very fortunate that it's mostly organic traffic and referral traffic. I think we've actually placed one Facebook ad in the history of Fixate, and that was it that we've ever done. So very fortunate. But we also, we try very hard to nurture the relationships with our clients. And we think of our clients as clients, not customers, more so, right? Like, we really want them to feel that. And that's been part of, I think, what's, lent itself to our success over the years of growing the client base, for sure.
Yeah, so for us, it's SEO, pay-per-click, and networking. They're the three main avenues. obviously referrals as well. They come naturally. Yeah. But yeah, they're the four main drivers for us.
Networking's been good for us. We've kept that up throughout COVID. And that's really
how have you done that through COVID? Like, is this like online events? Is it
online?
It's
It's all on Zoom. Yeah. So the networking, there's one networking group that's actually arisen at the start of COVID and continued, and that group now meets up maybe once every couple of months, physically. But yeah, they're taking place every fortnight on Zoom.
And I'm in a for business networking environment, which I believe is over in the States now. That's been really good.
So plays golf and
get paid for it.
Golf again.
Tough life.
I agree with all of that. For us, it's also referrals from clients, definitely organic SEO. But there is another building block for us that has been very interesting. That is, it's more like organic PR. So working with media outlets as a key messages and news. One insight we realize is every media outlet need messages and need news, right? And depending on your target, you have forever. If you want to go corporate, there are some media that make sense. If you want to go SMB or local or whatever, there are others that make sense. But the one thing they have in common, they all need new messages. So if you can find a relevant message for your target that makes sense for any media outlet that you can reach, you can start working on collaboration with them, and that works a lot to build reputation, SEO, and of course, awareness overall.
Yeah, Alberto, how do you think about that? Is that like, do you target specific verticals when you do that? Or are you target like, kind of personas of business in terms of how big they are and size and maybe the media that they might be interested in? How do you think about kind of building and tailoring that message?
Yes, so I think what we try to do is group the media outlets depending on group of targets. So for example, there are a lot of media. Media could be podcasts, could be YouTubers, could be local newspaper, by the way, that focus, let's say, on SMBs, that have messages for entrepreneurs, for startups, or whatever. So we reach them. And at the end, when you reach media outlets, you reach people. No, you reach Alberto, you reach Josh. And it makes sense for Josh, to have a collaboration and start up and be part of his podcast, as a guest. That makes sense. That's a way to start. If you want to do it with corporations, it's the same. Now, people at the end, C-levels, director, they read magazines. They maybe look at different podcasters or YouTubers, but you can reach to them too. So depending on the team that is managing our growth or the target we want, we have our group of media outlets that we go to.
Got it. Makes sense. So I'm gonna slightly pivot this a little bit, and I think it would be interesting to hear from your guys' perspective. How do you think about generating new sources of income? Right, we were just talking a second ago about where do you get leads, where do you get existing referrals, where do you get customers from? How do you guys think about growing that existing base of customers? Josh, I'll start with you. What are those things that you guys kind of add on an ongoing basis there?
Yeah, we didn't used to do as much of adding on to anything until we actually started building websites in Duda, unless it was consultative work, hire Tina, Josh, and crew for 6 months of SEO work, right? But when we started, hosting websites, it was much easier to tack on anything we wanted, right, for a small monthly fee. And most recently, that has actually been support and updates. So while our model has always been, empower the client and try to push them to content management tools, whether in Squarespace or Duda, we've definitely grown to the point where we need something for everybody. And so most recently that was deploying a help desk, right, with the ticketing system. And what's unique in our shop is it's the same team. Our team who builds the websites is who supports the websites, whether it's free support, whether it's paid support. So, so that alone has created a couple of packages that we now offer. But a lot of people who just come in with a support ticket and need some general help will often end up saying, can you guys just do this for me? And then it's a very easy conversion. Say, for a couple extra bucks a month on your hosting, you can have this, and this. And so that's where we're starting to trend now, is more recurring types of revenue streams that can be bolted on.
Yeah. Frank, I'm going to kind of ask this question towards you here. I know you spend a lot of time kind of taking a lot of more the advanced use cases from agencies and trying to solve some of those challenges. Are there interesting areas that you're seeing that are kind of new and emerging, and you're seeing more questions pop up related to, hey, I need this really custom XYZ feature or capability? I'm curious kind of what you're seeing on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I can't honestly answer that because Justin, who is our operations manager, really works directly with those clients.
Sure.
But I would say that Duda sells just so many different verticals, and we see all different types of verticals, because when you guys try to sell them, right, when you sell them on Duda and they need a custom widget that has to replace something they had in WordPress or connect to their SaaS platform, then you bring us in. So yeah, I can't really answer that.
Okay.
We bring Frank some really interesting ones. Most recently, a footnoting widget for law review websites. So yeah.
Josh, somebody asked about the support ticketing system we use. Maybe you want to just tell them a little bit about that.
We are using something called Support B. I think it's supportb.io. And not necessarily because it's better than Zendesk or anything else, but we also use Basecamp as our project management system. And so that integrates. So a ticket goes into Support B, we click a button, it assigns it as a task in our Basecamp to our team.
We use, to follow up on that with Tina, we use Teamwork. So we use Teamwork for their project management, the CRM, support, internal chat. They have different modules. So we use that to pretty much run our whole company internally and externally. And it works. It works.
Yeah, it's always interesting, I think, to talk about that. Like, we use Basecamp just for our main PM system, and we invite our clients in there with us, and it's awesome. I mean, we've created some tutorial videos for them, but it really helps us to communicate with our clients and streamline our projects. I know I took that a little bit off tangent from the support system, but I'm always curious what types of PM systems other agencies are using. So those are our main ones.
Okay, and to answer a couple of things there, we're upselling with the Uberall. We do quite a few of those. That's good. And similar to Frank, we'll build custom widgets in-house as well. Or if there's one out on the market, we'll buy one as well from other agencies. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple of questions. CRM, we use ActiveCampaign, and we've linked that up to Duda as well. And project management is ClickUp, same as Basecamp.
Yeah. That's
on that.
Good, Frank.
We try to get our clients on the support side. We try to get them to use the commenting tool as much as possible inside of Duda. Uh-huh. It just saves the emails going back and forth. And some clients are not going to do it, and that's fine. But if we can get 30, 40% of our clients to log in, show them the commenting tool, click the issue, it's like magic when it gets resolved for them. And it just saves so much time. So anytime we can save in any part of our process, we try to leverage that.
Yeah, absolutely. We train our clients on that from day one.
Yeah, we also we use WhatsApp quite a lot. We set up groups in WhatsApp with the clients and our team. So that, like you say, Frank, emails, you just get lost in them, don't you? So that really helps, the WhatsApp groups.
Does that WhatsApp group like sync into your CRM, or is it just this is our quick mode of communication? It's
just a quick mode of communication, yeah.
Yeah.
But the clients love it because then they know they've got a direct line to us. So if they've got an issue or a query or whatever it may be, or even images for the website or social and stuff like that they like, they can just drop it on there.
We don't give it to all clients.
No.
I would be like really nervous about that, actually, because I like to have documentation of everything, which is why, it's ideal to just keep everyone in one system. So, like, for example, sometimes people will text us on the main line, and it's not a bad thing, but if it's not documented, you know, sometimes it's hard to go back, or if like a photo is just texted in or something, you know. So, I mean, my preference is to as much as possible to kind of keep everybody communicating within the system and with my team within the system. So.
You know, speaking of managing your guys' relationships, what's your biggest source of, you know, losing customers today? You know, or do you guys have any, you know, specific techniques to use to retain or, you know, keep customers up to date? You know, how do you know that you guys are meeting expectations? You know, Frank, I know you have some good experience here.
Yeah, we would lose customers when we were on WordPress, right? You know, when a widget would go down, the phones would start ringing. All of a sudden, we're an IT company, not a web development company. Since we moved over to Duda, that's, you know, I'll say it as blunt as I can. That's Duda's problem, right? I pay you guys a fee. You keep the system up and running. I don't want to get calls at night because their website's not working, and we haven't in 3+ years. So we really don't lose clients. If we do, it's maybe because their cousin is going to do the website, or so, I don't even know. And just good customer service on a really good platform and communicate with them. I mean, that's really the secret, because they don't want to redo everything. They don't want to start over.
So in our case, we have a strategy that goes for 2 main objectives. So we have a clear upsell goal for our team. So for the clients we have, people have goals to upsell products. And that works on 2 objectives. So number 1 is there is no way you can upsell to a client if you are not delivering on the base. If you don't have good customer service, if you don't have a good relation with the client, you're not going to upsell anything. So the objective number 1 is protect the base. If you protect the base, you have a chance. If you don't protect the base, no way at all. And then, of course, if the base is right, you have a good relation, we have delivered value to the client, it makes sense to add value with a new product. So that's our way of, you know, generating more revenue, upselling, but also protecting our base of clients.
I think I would just tack on to what Frank was saying about communicating. And I mean, I'm a fan of over communicating with their clients. And one of the tools that Josh uses a lot that I love, and I would highly encourage other agencies to use, is Loom. Josh makes Loom videos day in and day out, like up showing clients our updates. And it's amazing how much more effectively you can communicate what's changed in a Loom video than just by sending them the preview link and saying, oh, go check out your updates. You know, when you can kind of narrate and show people what you've done. And that's just been an incredible tool for us. And just really making sure that you make every one of your, however many client projects you have, everyone needs to feel like they're number 1, you know? So even though that's not realistic, it's always our goal to make everybody feel like they're at the top of the line.
And I would add that, I mean, we've gone from a time where I made Camtasia videos and downloaded them and uploaded them to send someone a link, to where clients are sending us Loom videos actually now, which is, it's incredible. It's awesome. So it's been helpful both for us and for the client to communicate with us if they're willing to do that too.
Peter or Sharon, did you guys want to jump in there?
Yeah, so it didn't dawn on us until the other day when we was prepping for this, that since we've been with Duda, we haven't actually lost a client at all on the website, which was fantastic. So thank you, Duda. But Sharon got a little tip that you'd like to do.
I mean, I think one of the reasons that we haven't lost anybody is because then one of our sales points is that they never actually have to rebuild the site again. You know, if they don't like the look of it, then that can be redone. But the base software is always kept up to date, and you don't have the horrible plugins like you do with WordPress and the like. But one of the things that I do a spot check every now and again, and I'll go into a client site. I just check on see whether they're getting any content and contact forms filled in, and if they are, which they usually are, then I'll just phone them and say, you are picking up those forms, aren't you? You are seeing these leads coming through. Just spot checking every now and again. They're just like that, because then they, one of the things, like Tina said, is it is nice to make them all feel like they're important and they're the only one. And and we know they're not the only one, but
they are
as
important.
long as they are important, they're all important. However small their issue is, the comment is, their minor change they want to make, it's still important. It's important to them, so it's important to us.
And we want to make sure that we know that, that we want them to know that we are bothered about their business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Justin in the comments is kind of echoing very similar sentiments for all of you guys when he says the majority, when he says, I would say in the majority of new website sales, when a client is leaving, another company is coming to us. It's because they're unhappy with support. They're unhappy with their existing company just for those reasons. He's echoing kind of a similar sentiment here.
I mean, I can add one more. It's more of a retention thing, I suppose, but it evolved kind of out of our model, right? We always wanted to empower the client. And so when we moved over to Duda, now we have to host your website, which is what we always said we didn't want to do before, right? So we initiated weekly live trainings with me and any of our clients, as long as they're paying their hosting. They can drop in, they can send their front desk people they've just hired, whatever they want. But the first 30 minutes are always the same. How do you get into your site? How do you edit, right? The basics. And then the last 30 is generally reserved for Q&A. So clients don't have to actually pay us. And I think that, when somebody like Justin is saying is coming and they're unhappy somewhere else because of support, and you say, well, in addition to all these wonderful tools and web personalization, you also get weekly training at no additional charge to take care of you. And we use that to share updates on the platform, but we also use that to sell the platform. So I think sometimes half of our training sessions are full of potential clients I've spoken to who want to come and see what Duda's like and see how we relate to clients. So, that was more on the retention side of not losing clients, but I think that certainly helps with our retention.
Absolutely. Cool. I'm going to jump on to a specific question kind of in the weeds of SEO. I think for a lot of agencies and web design companies, SEO can be a really complicated topic to communicate to customers, and it's often misunderstood by a lot of clients. What are kind of common misunderstandings that you guys see out there in the market? How do you guys package and price your SEO services to kind of ease some of those communication kind of gaps and difficulties? I'll start off with let's just start off with Alberto. I know you have a few thoughts on this. Or how you price and package like SEO tools. Yeah,
we have been talking about this, Russ. So for us, we realize that SEO is complex to understand. You need to tailor for your market, right? So in our case, as we have different tiers of customers, what we do is we have a package that makes sense for the customer. So for our big clients, big advertisers, corporations, we offer full package, ongoing, long-term SEO, because at the end it makes sense for them. They have the budget to go on the long term. And of course, we invest a lot of time, explaining and educating about the long-term benefits of the SEO, and that makes sense. On the mid-market level, usually, it's smaller budgets. Could be the same owner is their budget, that they're putting together. So we focus more on on-site ready SEO, so they can have the proper site to go on. But we don't offer an SEO service. And on our SMB, so our really long tail business, we rely a lot on Duda and the features, and we don't offer really as a package of a product, but as the setup that Duda plays for the client. So that's how we tier it differently, targeting on different needs.
Got it.
So we offer the local SEO through Uberall, and we offer national SEO, normal SEO, to the larger clients. But yeah, a lot of the smaller businesses, we encourage them to do the Uber rule.
How if I can dig in on that a little bit, Peter, how do you guys sell that and position it? Because I think, you know, people they say they just want to show up on Google, you know, and how do you educate and inform more about the local search side of Google versus the more standard, you know, organic, or what you call our national, you know, kind of path? You know, how do you kind of think about, you know, when you're educating and discussing with customers, kind of describing those differences and describing the different packages that are there?
Well, thankfully now we're on Zoom, we can share the screen. So we'll typically get we'll do a search online and on Google, and we'll explain, you know, this is the map pack, this is what we are influencing here, and these are the key things that are involved in influencing that, and this is how we can manage those listings and help you manage everything all in one dashboard.
And local SEO tends to be in the UK anyway, is around about 10-mile radius, so it's perfect for people like hairdressers and you know,
plumbers, electricians, tradespeople.
So that they, by explaining them that the local SEO can really influence that local search, the near me search, the maps within Google, and be a one-stop place where they can have some news, write a blog, and it be posted once, and it goes across all the relevant search engine that Google say that they need to be on, then, you know, that's a really good selling point. And then again, they can be in control of it. They can manage it themselves on an ongoing basis. And
we'd also connect Duda with, you know, if they're selling products, a retail store, we'll connect Duda with Merchant Center as well, so we can have some of the free advertisement that they're offering at the moment.
For national SEO, we explain the differences between the backlinking and the blog writing and the importance of that for the content, etc. And the time that needs to go into that type of thing. But over time, and it takes time, you know, minimum sort of 6 months, but over time it will bring them up the search engine. We choose some keywords with them. We show the positioning ranking at the beginning, and each month they get a report that shows in full detail exactly what we've done, where they rank and where they rank now, what the plan is for the next month. So reporting and dashboards are really important.
Most of it is transparency of what it is you're doing.
How do you guys generate those reports? How do you get that data? Like, are you using a specific tool that delivers the reports? Do you have something that aggregates it from different tooling? How does that work?
Yeah, great question, Russ. So we so if it's local, it's through Uber. If it's normal organic SEO, then we would use Data Studio to pull them reports and just give them the information that they need to see that is relevant to them. So we've had a conversation about category-based keywords, priority keywords. We're also looking about conversion rates as well, and we would try and move them away from analytics because it can get too confusing, and we just keep the same information regulated, and it just comes through every month on the first of the month, and it will show the ups and downs in search
in the dashboard.
Yeah.
Which is Data Studio.
And we also cut out all the noise as well. And what I mean by that is we only focus on UK traffic because our clients are only interested in UK traffic.
Yep. Josh, Tina, do you guys do any like SEO services and tooling for your clients?
Yeah, so mainly, for Josh and I, our strategy is really organic content focused strategy. We don't do any ads or social, digital ads. We actually have an agency that we partner with. A lot of our clients are small businesses. They don't have gigantic budgets, so we really work with them really hands-on in terms of understanding their analytics from month to month. And for someone that really does want to drill into like an organic strategy, I think like Sharon was saying, it's kind of a long-term commitment. It's not like, oh, let's do a few blogs and next month you'll be on page 1 of Google, but people think that's what's going to happen. So it's a lot of education. It's a lot of, dedication on behalf of the client and us in terms of the content creation. But typically that's a strategy like that we would start for a 6 months to a 12-month engagement. And then it'd be a monthly review of Google Analytics and some of the other tools that we use.
And I would add that, you have to align yourselves with the right clients, I think, from our perspective for that work on the organic side, because not only is it a long game, but the vast majority of our clients also want to create content. So it's a partnership in this race that we're running together, and so they have to be willing to do some of that work if they want to see the results. So I think choosing the right clients for that type of work is important too. Yeah, if you want to be successful at it.
Do you have any questions that you try and weed out people with? Because I think most people are going to say, yeah, I want to do that. And yeah, I want to rank well on Google and I want to get all this traffic. And obviously execution is much, different. How do you kind of weed that out and have that conversation?
I don't know how Tina would answer. I'm pretty transparent with the clients. Like, if you're not going to do the work, you can't play, don't put me in that kind of position. But if you're down, let's figure out a strategy. But similar to Peter and Sharon, like those clients of ours, we have a monthly review call. It's not all the same data points, I'm sure. Some of it's fundamental analysis, some of it's technical and data, but we review, we make a plan. We're very transparent in that process because oftentimes you'll find that there was some low-hanging fruit you just didn't know existed that you all of a sudden nailed. And now you need to shift and pivot and move that way to help the client take advantage of that. So, yeah.
I just say who's going to do the writing. And if they look at me with like deer in the headlights, I'm like, okay, we'll move on.
Well, for us, we ask the same question, who's going to do the writing? I want to blog minimum one a week. And they go at that point. So they say, look, we've got good copywriters. We don't know your industry as detailed as you. What we do is we'll create them. We'll start off, see how we go. We'll send you the blogs. They check them for accuracy. They send us back, and we have a set program. We've got we're 3 months in advance of what is going to be written and what the topics are and where they will be pointing to.
We do also use a really good tool called Answer the Public. Which is a really great website to put in a couple of keywords and get the latest trending searches that people are typing into Google for any subject. And that quite often can give you, blogs for, quite a few weeks. So it's a good one. It obviously gets them ranking faster on the website if they put it on as a blog on their site.
But we have an Excel spreadsheet and we've got all the blogs listed out for the next quarter. And we're just going through them
and altering them if we need to.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. I want to ask this question from Todd that just came in. When you started, did you ever find yourself undervaluing your work after the fact, perhaps a bit after completion? Is this something you guys had faced in the past? This is anyone who wants to jump in, go for it.
We still face that.
In the past, yeah.
I can say I think we all face that every day.
I think it's
in the future, the past, and the present. Yeah.
That's part of your evaluating your company, right? And a platform like Duda is helpful because what used to take us, hours and hours to build on another platform, now it's a third of the time because we have sections and pages that we clone over. If we're working with a bunch of lawyers, we've got all of these resources, design resources to clone over and move things around. So things that we get a lot quicker at it. But as we get quicker, we don't want our prices to go down. We need them to go up a little bit. So we're constantly finding where that threshold is. And some of the markets, depending on the market you're in, attorneys may pay a lot more than the local landscaper, right? Same amount of work. So it's kind of a moving target for us.
Todd, I think I can answer that question because I've gone through this. We, as you can see, we all go through this, and we've changed our bookkeeping, our accountant, and our business coach just recently because I wanted to find out how do I benchmark myself against another agency? And I found out that there is an actual line out there, and that is 60% gross profit, 20% net profit. If you're within those boundaries, you've got a good agency. That don't matter then, does it?
Yeah, I was just going to add on, I guess, that, as far as undervaluing, I think that it maybe isn't undervaluing, but sometimes scope creep, as everybody has experienced, right, happens. And it happens all the time in all agencies. And I think that there's a couple important things. One, at least here, we measure the overall, right? Because we sell packages, our hourly rate is higher than that. So that's a blended rate. So you're going to do better on some than others, right? And in some cases, there'll be scope creep, and sometimes things will sneak by you didn't notice. But I think they're all learning opportunities for our team, for sure, and everyone else's teams, right? Okay. And so, again, back to like our ticketing or back to things like that, those can become opportunities to stop scope creep and allow for an enhancement to a project, right? If they're handled well. So while I certainly hope that we are having less and less of that over the years, it's still something that I think all agencies are going to face to some degree.
And something that we always do now, and we didn't do when we first started, is we actually list out what is included, so we can refer back to that document right at the beginning, what we all agreed on. And when the client turns around and says, well, I want to change, or I want the 96th amend, you can say, hold on a minute. Yes, we can do it naturally. However, this is what was agreed. And you're changing the scope. Can we talk about how we're going to cover these costs?
Totally agree. I mean, Josh and I have revised our contract, a number of times based on exactly what Peter just said. We're now on revision round 8. Like, wait a second, this definitely is more than is typically included in a package. So if you have something to fall back on when you have the proposal and the executed agreement, and you can go back and say, well, look, hey, you signed this contract and we agreed to 3 rounds of revisions and 10 pages. Now we're at 15 pages and we're on, round 88 of revisions. Obviously, it's going to cost more money. So, but, like Josh said, it's kind of highs and lows, and you got to sort of law of averages. It all kind of averages out in the end. You win some, you lose some, but hopefully you're kind of always on the up.
And I'd say, don't be afraid. Like, if you're a newer agency, like, clients oftentimes have no problem paying more. You just need to tell them. If they don't know, they don't know. It's not that they're trying necessarily to hide something. They don't do what we do every day, and they don't have our process every day, right? So I would say, just, again, transparency, and it'll help you make more money.
And I agree, by the way, with all things that you're talking about. Another thing that happened to us when we're on the early years is, honestly, we didn't knew exactly our costs, right? So our cost structure. So it was not only that if you undervalue on the pricing, it was also we weren't very good at understanding what it costs us to do something. Because you have direct costs, you have product costs, you have overhead costs, and sometimes it's difficult to put together. So many years ago, we invested a lot of time and effort on getting that right. Because what happened in our case is, when you put it direct costs, how much Duda costs, how much the freelancer or the designer costs, and then you say, hey, I have a pretty good profitability. But then you got underlying costs, overhead costs, and other costs that are indirect. And when you put it together, you say, hey, my profitability is not as good as I thought. So that was a mishap for us when we were studying. And for me, one learning and one message for the ones that are starting their companies: understand your costs right at the beginning, because that will save you a lot of headaches when you're growing.
If I can piggyback on this a little bit, going back to the beginning, you have to communicate with your sales team. Make sure that they're not overselling, overpromising, to get the sale. And then the second part of that is, as Tina was saying, a good contract that spells out exactly what they're getting. And then the scope of work. Like, you've got to take your time in the scope of work, outline as many of the details as you can, don't underestimate that step in the process. And then as you're going through the development process and the client wants a change, the first change, I think, is when you have to say to the client, hey, let's just go back to the scope and let's take a look at it. This is a change to the scope. And you may want to let this one slide. But if you're on change 8, 9, or 10, and you've never said anything to them up till that point, all of a sudden it's a surprise. And you're frustrated because you're several $100s into these change orders that, these scope creeps. It's really your fault as a project manager because you didn't outline that when it happened. You can give them grace and give them something, but let them know that you're doing it. But next time we'll tell you how much it's going to be and we'll add it into the scope and you'll have to approve it. Otherwise, you can really go down a rabbit trail and it's hard to get your money if you've been kind to them and gracious to them and you're way outside of scope. It's hard to reel that back in.
And I'm going to throw in a question from Sandra here, who's asking, what do you guys include in a round of revisions, right? What is accepted and not accepted? What is scope creep and what's not scope creep? Somebody want to jump in?
It depends. If you have a good scope and they ask for something that's not in it, it's out of scope. Right? If you don't have a good scope and there's a lot of ambiguity in it, then we tend to eat that because we didn't do a good job on the scope. And our revisions, we give 3 rounds of revisions, and it's pretty clear. I mean, we work through each revision with them, give them a chance to take their time with it. Once they give it back to us and we make all those changes, they've given us the revision, mostly using the commenting tool. That ends that round. We fix it, and then we move on.
Mm-hmm.
We can also, clients come to us sometimes and they've seen something else that they've liked on another website and they want to implement this once they're in mid-build. And we can remind them sometimes, we say, look, this is the minimum viable product. Let's get this going and we'll bring that into phase 2 and we can quote for that separately. It's a nice transition for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would echo what Frank says. I think that the sooner you nip it and let them know, even if you give something away, the better, because it's not only the business, like our team could become frustrated, right? If they know the scope and somebody's pushing them beyond, they're trying to take care of the client, make them feel number one, right? Do the best job, but it's not going to get better the longer you let that go on, if you do. Yeah.
Got it. Cool. This is a great discussion. So I'm going to switch on to kind of more like services that you guys are looking or new channels of generating leads. What new topics or channels are you guys keeping an eye on for the future? Like, do you guys see, is there a new kind of category of service you guys might be interested in offering in the future? What are things that you guys are, looking at this year of either selling a new service, finding a new channel to find customers? What are those kind of, areas that you guys are looking at? Yeah, Peter, if you want to go first.
Yeah, so ours has been Amazon. We're doing a lot more with Amazon and connecting the Duda platform to Amazon and other marketplaces. It's not just Amazon that's out there. I don't think there's hundreds, but there are a load of other opportunities out there. Most of our leads through the pandemic and towards the last of the pandemic has been product-based marketing or product-based sales. So it's Amazon at the moment.
Can you give an example of just like what that looks like? Like how are you positioning those those products there and how? Yeah.
I think for myself, I think people's behaviors have changed. And this was echoed in a report that I heard on another webinar only a couple of weeks ago. This was a report. It was done in the US. I can't remember the report. I'm sorry, but basically this was in Q3, so there's nothing really happening. And they looked. They went to like the Walmarts and the big supermarkets, and they noticed that when people were in their stores, that within the next 24 hours they were getting orders through Amazon. And I can't remember what they're called, but it's virtually a virtual stall that they're offering. This is what we're telling our clients now is, look, you need to get your products online, make sure they are retail ready, both on your website, because they go back to your website. They're checking you out, checking your ethics, the products, where it's sourced and everything like that. And they're also checking for price. But what was interesting is a third of the people that went to these retail outlets were only buying it through Amazon and other marketplaces because delivery was easier. The products are delivered to the door, reliable service. And if they're on Prime, then it was free.
I think that especially in our company, our help desk, right? There's a lot of money sitting with our current customers that we're not offering them the services within the Duda App Store, right? We need to get better at that. You guys are partnered with these apps for our benefit. We just really need to upsell them to our client. In order to do that, I do believe you have to have a help desk, right, that can support those apps and reach out to the clients and really just explain the benefits of it. And I think you can add a good bunch of recurring revenue that way with your existing clients.
Alberto, I know you're looking at a few different kind of new categories and new areas of growth this year. What are those kind of interesting angles that you're seeing?
Yeah, sure. So we're seeing two main things, that are setting apart on what we're focusing on this year, as what we call a catalyzers, for things going on. So one of the things we're seeing globally, moving people or companies moving investment towards advertising-based video on demand, OTTs, streaming services, so Hulu, Pluto, whatever are streaming with advertising. And we're seeing it not only because it makes sense, because at the end it's TV on demand, and then you can be on prime time with Frank or Sharon looking the soap opera or whatever. But also it's a way to democratize access to the TV, because now I don't need to go to a big media agency to go and have my video or my advertisement placement there. So I see that as a huge catalyzer that is just starting, and we're focusing a lot there, because at the end we try to be ahead, or at least at the beginning of the wave. And I think this wave is starting. And at the end you can start advertising their self-service with a couple of $100, so a lot of access now. The other part that for us is key, and this is a controversial, right? But we see a clear trend towards in-housing. And in-housing is, we see it on two ways, right? So companies that start having services in-house instead of going on agencies. And we see that because of two things. One, technology, for one part, has been easier to use. So now it's easier, to maybe use Duda, or maybe use a self-service advertising management, or even go to Facebook, and boost a post. And on the other part, clients are being more educated. So anyone can go and see a video how to boost a post on Facebook, right? So we see that on one part of the trend, and the other part of the trend is the use of technology. So platforms as Duda. Now you may see, this is a risk and a challenge for all of us, or all of the agency services, but we see it more of an opportunity. So what we have been doing is, how can I provide services or technologies or processes for the in-housing where I make ongoing recurring revenue? And also how I can leverage on Duda and similar platforms for me offering those platforms for at the end do self-service or do managed service. But I see that as a clear tendency. Is a risk if you don't take an action, but it could be an amazing opportunity for the few of us that see it and take an action on that part. So again, streaming and in-housing and platform usage. That's our trends that we're seeing and we're focusing on how we can get recurring revenue for us.
It's an interesting answer. Thank you. One question that came in here from Studio Gibbous is, how do you upsell the pricing of the value of plugins to not only cover the cost of the plugin, but also cover your support? How do you guys think about pricing these things?
We're thinking about it. Actually, similar to Frank, there are a lot of great tools in there. We just we have to figure out how to package them properly because they're all different. You know what I mean? But a new one yesterday came into play. Somebody needed a comparison chart, and I'm like, I just saw that one in the App Store. So like some of them are very easy solves for clients. But yes, we need to be figuring out our model this year on how to package those properly.
Yeah.
I think to piggyback on that, the first thing that we look at is we don't call it a hosting fee. We call it an infrastructure fee. Because if you look at Duda, they charge us a fee for their infrastructure. Not hosting is just one piece of it. Go look at their page and look at all the infrastructure that they're spending millions of dollars on keeping it up and running for us every month. So you have an infrastructure fee, whatever that monthly fee is for you, right? And then we have a support fee. So if you want to email or call in and speak to somebody, then we take that infrastructure fee and then we add to that, right? If you don't pay the help desk fee, then just go do it yourself. So we add that on top of it. And then the third piece is really what we're starting to really look at is, like I said, the Duda App Store. You've got an app in there that will benefit the client. How much does that app cost us? And then how much time is it going to take us to implement it? And then every month, is this a monthly call with them? Then you should you should pay for that, or the client should pay for that. So you just kind of look at it as a stepping stone so that your monthly ticket price for your client, maybe you can go from, I don't know, $25 a month to $200 a month, and they've got the infrastructure, they've got support in 3 apps, and you're having a monthly call. All of a sudden, this call with them, you've got some things to talk about. You've created value for them. And now when somebody wants to come in and take that customer away, they really have to pull a lot of things away from us, right? The host, the infrastructure, the support, all the apps. It's not as easy as just letting them go. So it's a thing you do over time, I think.
I think, Frank, you're going to highlight your last point here. This is something that we see internally at Duda. When we see sites that use some of these apps and add-ons or e-commerce, we see quite a big reduction in churn just from our internal numbers, right? We see about a 50% drop in churn just across those. So, when you do start adding those things on, you do start to have a much stickier customer experience just because they need to replace that thing if they're going to leave you, in addition to the website design, in addition to all those other things that you're doing for them. So it's a really interesting point. One question that was asked a little bit ago by AJ, but I would love to just hear your guys' kind of tooling that you guys use. Do you use any proposal-based software? What do you do to send proposals, to manage that process, to kind of communicate with the clients?
We use PandaDoc for some of our proposals.
The more complex ones we use PandaDoc, don't we?
Yeah, and for the simple ones, we use a program called Roll. And that sends a quote out, and they sign for that.
So for the quick jobs that don't really need a very lengthy scoped document, then Roll works really well, and that links straight into ClickUp. So they're all linking together.
We use a few tools, but we use one called Dubsado, Dubsado, which is primarily Tina's tool, actually. But contracts, e-signatures, transactions, recurring fees now. It has more tools than we use, actually, but that's what we use, Dubsado.
Yeah, That's great. Cool. I'm gonna pivot, kind of go back to a little bit of an operational question here that I'd love to ask you guys. How do you guys measure your efficiency and your kind of throughput for your business? Do you use like specific tools there? And what are those metrics that you guys look to optimize? Is it time from signing to go live of the website? How do you guys look at different toolings and measuring your performance?
In our case, we use ClickUp and Clockify, as those also both are our main tools. Compared to KPI based on, we use for the proposal what we call a service level agreement. So kind of a scope document. So, and we, measure that versus on the KPI we put on the SLA.
Got it. And you use ClickUp just for the whole project kind of tracking and communication?
Yes, and Clockify for the hourly that makes sense to track. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Ours is exactly the same as Alberto's.
Yeah, we use ClickUp for everything.
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. It is. It times it. Yeah, it keeps track of everything, tasks, breaks it all down, moves the projects along from start to in progress to completion.
And we get reports as well. So, yeah.
That's great. How do you guys work with your team on these things? Do you guys find that, specific team members might spend too long with clients or they might take too long to deliver a website? Do you guys have, kind of management issues along those type of lines?
A designer with time issues never happens. Yeah, right.
It causes all butterflies. Anybody in the design team, we're all butterflies.
They're all butterflies. They go from one project to another. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
The timing helps. Time estimation on a job gives them an idea of how long they've got to do the task. It's not a big stick. We make sure they know that it's not all about that. It's just so that we can see where we are maybe over or underestimating a cost on a job. And over time, we can then change and alter those costings because you've just got that insight.
It's the basics, really. We have built in time for them to be creative, and but we've done that over an average of websites. We know how each size website. We know how much typically it takes, how long it should take, and it's just massively quick in Duda, isn't it? Let's face it, what you can do with Duda in 5 minutes,
said
it's half a day in another program.
Yeah.
So we know we've done that many sites. We know roughly how long it's going to take, and we clearly give that information over to the designers and say, look, that is the time that you've got for that. And if they can't get it right, they do go over it quite often.
Yeah.
I try to dictate the schedule here pretty closely. But, again, back to the ebbs and flows and averages, I think that no matter how carefully you plan a project, there are just sometimes you just don't have the mojo going if you're designing, for example, and you need different inspiration, and sometimes that's okay. So I would say that while we run a pretty tight schedule production wise, we always build in a little bit of buffer, 2 to 3 days around just for that, right? So if we have somebody out or if somebody needs a little bit more time, we have it. But we also use Clockify to measure, though, which is a really great tool. So we know to this minute what's been put in every project. Yeah.
Josh, can I ask? Someone's asking about what we include in a round of revisions. It's kind of a tough thing to answer, but I'll let you go. Like, what do you include in a round of revisions?
It depends on the contract, whether it's 2 rounds or 3 rounds. But typically a round would be like we would do a prototype of a design. They would come back and say, okay, we want to change the banner here. We don't like this color, this font. We'd like to try something new. Like there'd be a whole list of things, whether they're design, aesthetical, or functional, right? We want to see a thank you page, redirect from the form. It can be both of those things. And so there's not a lot of limits there, unless, again, it would be out of scope. So if somebody's requesting special graphic design or animations now in the middle of the project, that would obviously be different. But a round of revisions really could be anything, but we try to guide the client like, okay, following this call, here's what we'd like you to do. And we're going to give you a form with which to do that in Basecamp. And after this one, we're trying to get that a little shorter, but generally we get to a place where like, okay, before we QA and test the site, let's get a punch list from you. Any little things you wanted to, before you get trained on how to use it. So, I don't know that we exclude things unless it's out of scope for revision, but we do try to corral those revisions like into a funnel. Let's get all the big ones. Let's get that down a little bit. And does a client sometimes need another one? Yes, of course they do. And do we often give it to them? Yes, of course we do. But we don't want to give away 3 or 4 extra rounds of revisions if we can. And so I think it's, again, project management, making sure that you're transparent and keeping people moving along the process with you. Yeah.
Great. So the next question I wanted to ask is more about kind of communication with clients directly. How do you guys communicate complex kind of technical topics for your customers, right? If the websites go down, or if you talk about where things are hosted and how it's hosted, do you guys have any, tips or kind of best practices that you guys implement to just, discuss some of the more kind of important details, but even if they're more technical, like what are those things that you guys use?
So, so we obviously tell the clients that it's hosted on 2 servers, the US and in Europe, and quite conveniently, it only goes down. Well, it's only gone down once, and that was at night. So none of our clients actually noticed for the UK. So none of our clients noticed it. So we dodged that bullet.
But generally, any issues are very short in time. Yeah. But if there is anything lengthy that we know that we've got to talk to them about, then we'll send an email blast out to let them know that there's an issue.
And and if somebody has contacted us directly, we'll be picking up the phone and talking to them
and keeping regular contact with them.
Yeah, and let them know when it's back up again.
Yeah,
but they're very few and far between. It's nothing like 3 years before not using the Duda platform. Yeah, it's very few and far between now.
Yeah, I could have answered that pretty easily a few years ago, because we were like firemen, always waiting for the next sites to go down or something to happen. And I think we've had the one since I've been on Duda, and that wasn't Duda, right? That was Amazon. And because we run a help desk, they will often find it before we do. We'll get a phone call saying, "Hey, my site's down," and we're like, "Here we go." And we know, we go look at Duda and see what's happening, and we're able to respond to them, and yeah.
Got it. Cool. I'm going to ask a question here from that came in from Pivotal Mix. Do you guys work off of custom contracts for every client? Do you have a standard that works? Is it verticalized? How do you guys build and write your contracts with customers?
In our case, what we do is we have a base contract, and then one thing that we changed that helped a lot is we have the contract that is almost standard, and then we have addendas that are the specifics of the service. So that helps us to have one thing that is the same, and then 2, 3 pages specific to the client that help us a lot.
Got it.
Yeah, most of our contracts, I would say 90% of them, 95% of them are standard contracts. And like Alberto said, there's it's mainly the scope of work that would vary. That would vary depending on what the deliverable is. If it's a website, it'll be a clear scope of work. The same with Amazon or pay-per-click, it's clear, crystal clear on the scope of work. But the actual contract for the actual contract for the terms of service is pretty much the same.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we customize the contract per the project, not per the vertical, just because there's so much variety. I mean, you do one real estate website for one company and then one for another company, totally different projects. So pretty much the same as everyone else for us.
Got it. Cool. So I The next thing I want to get to, and kind of leading towards wrapping up our conversation here, what are your guys' predictions? And I'm going to go around to each one of you. What are your predictions for 2022 in terms of how is the industry going to change? What are things that you guys are going to need to do more of or less of going forward? What do you guys see as kind of the future of your business and your kind of day-to-day operations? So I'll start. Alberto, you're nodding your head. If you want to go ahead and go first.
Sure. So for this year, clear trends. Automation, platform usage, and in-housing, that would be like one topic. For us, we will continue to do borderless talent. So get people where the best talent is, independent of where they are located. That will be our main two things, and also work even more with partners, network to scale more. That will be in our case, our three main things for this year.
Very nice.
And for us, it would be exactly the same as Alberto. Borderless talent. I like that phrase. I'm going to steal that one. That was really good. We are going to have to increase our prices because staff is getting harder to find. Good staff are getting harder to find, and it's all about products being online. That's what we're swamped with. So that's what we're adjusting to.
Big growth area.
Yeah, and it's
retail, online retail.
It's adding more systems into our processes.
I will piggyback again on one point, Peter, that you say is, and we all need to be clear of this. Talent is getting, more expensive. More people want to do digital. More companies want to in-house or do self-service. So this is happening everywhere. And for the people that are on the audience, you need to be clear on this and how you're going to source your talent and how you're going to manage your costs. But that is a very good point, Peter. I think that will be key for all of us on our revenue management. Understand that talent is getting and will get more expensive this year and next year.
So typically when Josh and I make predictions, we have the magic 8 ball that we shake. That's really worked out well for us. So I would say that, since we started working in the Duda platform, our networking and the relationships that we've formed with other partners has been exceptional. Totally different from our experience working in Squarespace. So I just see more of that in the coming year and, just more collaboration, working together. I mean, we're all trying to succeed and help each other grow. So I'm hopeful that that is a prediction that will come true for 2022.
Let's see. I guess I could predict about some of the changes at Fix8 and then maybe what I think in the market, Sure. At Fix8, definitely what everybody said to a degree. I think we have to have a bigger focus this year on training internally as we're growing. And we are very concerned about maintaining our level of standards and kind of making sure that that's in place. And I think as long as we do that right, we'll continue to grow. But I also I think there's a trend in people becoming more specialized now all of a sudden again in digital, right? It was that way. And then everybody started doing everything. And maybe it's part of the pandemic, right? People are working from home and doing specific things, but there's such specific roles now in digital, right? That are not a whole web design agency, that are not just this SEO, but a specialized part of SEO. And so I see a lot more of that, I think, in 2022, but that for all of us is opportunities to collaborate, right? And to lean on those people's expertise to help deliver our clients the best value and the best services. So.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on Josh that I think our first thing is really to have these Duda expert partnerships stronger so that Devolo can stay in their wheelhouse. There's things that we just don't do and I don't want to do. We used to do everything and now we're very focused on what we do. We're a custom widget development shop for Duda and we work with their agencies and their partners and Duda sales team. The other side of our house, the help desk side, we have a bunch of customers We want to look at the apps within inside of Duda and how we can understand them and offer them to our current client base, and really stick to that for 2022.
That's great. That's great. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Really appreciate the collaboration. We'll be back here tomorrow for day 3. We have 2 sessions tomorrow, one on Google's Core Web Vitals and another live Q&A with the 2 co-founders of Duda, Tai and Amir. So we have some fresh content coming up for the final day of DudaCon. So if you haven't registered or subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. And thank you, Peter and Sharon, Alberto, Tina, Josh, Frank. Thank you guys so much for joining today and being part of this awesome panel and sharing your guys' insights and knowledge and expertise in this space. So it's been a really good conversation. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.